marks the 55th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. So please join me in a moment of silence in honor of his legacy and work for equal rights. Thank you. So I'd like to start with a Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Rob Corley, and I'm the CEO of NeighborWorks Housing Solutions. And on behalf of my board of directors, I'd like to welcome you all to this groundbreaking event. Today we celebrate the culmination of many years of work on behalf of our most vulnerable, those who do not have a home. This time next year, we'll hopefully be cutting a ribbon and opening up a new building, a state-of-the-art building, that'll be providing 18 emergency shelter beds and 22 studio apartments of permanent supportive housing for the chronically homeless. We are finally here. But it's important for us to remember that this development will not only impact the homeless individuals that will live and be serviced here, but also all the people in each one of their lives that love them. Behind every chronically homeless person is someone who cares deeply for them and may have lost them. A family member, like a mother, a father, a brother or a sister, a spouse, or their children, or a close friend. They have all tried to stabilize them and have oftentimes been unsuccessful, and may even have had to cut these people out of their lives. This is a very sad and painful reality. So at NeighborWorks, we are so proud to be part of a project that is not just housing, but actually helping people start over, to heal and stabilize and rebuild their lives and relationships. What better time of year to reflect on the power of rebirth, renewal, redemption, and resurrection than spring and this holy season for so many faiths. We're humbled to be working with partners who make miracles happen for homeless people every day. To Catholic Social Services and Father Bill's in Mainspring, I want to thank you for letting us all be part of your amazing work on the front lines, transforming lives every day. But the support for projects like this start right here at the local level in the City of Attleboro. We've never quite seen an outpouring of support that we've seen for this project in this city. At all of our zoning and public meetings, the support for this development was nearly unanimous, thanks in large part to our attorney Jack Jacoby from Coogan and Smith, but we especially want to thank the City of Attleboro, its volunteer committee members, its city council, and its residents for their support of this project during this whole process. I'd like to ask the new mayor of the City of Attleboro, the Honorable Kathleen DeSimone, to come up and say a few words of welcome.
Hello, and welcome to Attleboro. For those of you who do not live or work in the city, welcome. Attleboro is beautiful every day, but certainly more so on a lovely day like this. Thank you, Rob. On behalf of the City of Attleboro, I want to thank you all for coming to this wonderful new project. A new state-of-the-art shelter and permanent supportive housing is so needed for the most vulnerable in our city. I want to thank all of the team members, NeighborWorks, Catholic Social Services, and Father Bill's in Mainspring for their efforts to make this wonderful project a reality. It's here. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you, Rep. Hawkins, as well, and your team for all of this work. I'd also like to thank all the local and state funders for their investment in our city. Here in the City of Attleboro, we are honored to step up and lead in how to best address the challenge we all face as a society with the homelessness issue. It is our strong belief that if every city and town in our region developed a property like this, we would collectively end chronic homelessness. Indeed, we must. As a city, as a Commonwealth, and as a country, this can no longer stand. Thank you for all your support. Thank you all for your support of this transformational project, and we look forward to the cutting the ribbon later this year. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We look forward to working with you as we go forward here on this project. We'll need some help with the building department and all that stuff. It's never that easy. At NeighborWorks, we've been working with our partners on projects that house the homeless for over 25 years. We have an incredible team of people that make all of this possible, and I want to especially thank Emily Rothschild and Tim Doherty for putting together much of the state financing for this project over the last couple of years. Keeping with the religious theme just for a minute, all of us that do this work are like out there, and Emily's the good shepherd that gets us all together and always brings us to the promised land. We're finally here. And speaking of miracles, our construction manager, Dave Lovering, where's Dave? There was a building here last week. Dave got this building down in 1 week. Thank you, Dave. Round of applause for Dave. But we've had a very special coalition of people who've been working on this project for many, many years, and they invited us at NeighborWorks to be part of their work. The Northern Bristol County Assistance Collaborative, without their collective efforts, we would not be here today. But a staunch supporter of this group has been a not-so-secret weapon who has really made this project one of his top priorities. This state rep has truly been amazing. I mean, amazing support of this project. To tell us more about the history of the collaborative, please join me in welcoming the Iron Man of this project, State Rep Jim Hawkins.
I don't usually use notes, but the people in the front can see what I've got. To acknowledge the other electeds who worked with me through this for the last 5 years, the 6 years that I've been in office. State Rep Jay Barrows, State Rep Stephen Howard sends his regrets. I talked to him this morning, he couldn't make it. State Rep, former State Rep and former State Rep Kevin and Betty Poirier in the background. State Rep Adam Scanlon and State Rep Carol Doherty are all here in support of this program. I'd also like to acknowledge Caleb White from Elizabeth Warren's office, and Ben Thomas from Ed Markey's office, and Stephanie Gray from Congressman Auchincloss's office. This does not happen without that. So many people in this audience have been part of this for a really long time. It's hard to even think. Every person I can see had something to do with it somewhere along the line over the last 5 years. This started with Janet Ricciardi in the front row and Steve Duplessis, and the two of them. This was a pretty bold idea because we didn't have anything. We didn't have a checkbook. We didn't have a name. Somebody gave us money. We'd have nothing to do with it. And they believed in this mission. And Tara Major, who's my legislative director, who kept this all organized. Our small group was so bold that everybody thought that we had all this stuff that we didn't have. And I'll thank some people that came up very early in the project. People from La Salette Shrine had a fundraiser, and they said, "This is really going to happen, isn't it?" And I'm thinking, yeah, it's going to happen. And they gave us a check that I don't think they made a whole lot of money, but they made certain that they gave us a check early on, and we didn't. I said, "Geez, I can't tell you how to make the check out because we haven't gotten there yet." There's also Susan Lee, who's somewhere in the background, who worked tirelessly to find us a location. Even though we didn't have anything to pay, anyway paying for it, she found something. She stayed with us to the end. This wonderful spot is her doing. She's a saint, somebody that would do this hard, that is a high-paid professional to do it just because they believed in us. Bay Coast Bank with Nick Christ, they believed us also. They gave us a big chunk of money, and the problem when you're not an organization and you start a project like that, you need lawyers, you need accountants, you need consultants, and that doesn't show for anything. So there's nothing to show for it. So it was a real show of faith by Bay Coast Bank. They're an incredible partner in this community, that they would just commit to a large sum of money without anything to show for it, just believing in the importance of this project. And there are people here from Bay Coast Bank. I'm hoping they're hearing this. Oh, they're there. We would have let you in.
They paid for the ticket.
And there's also Jack Jacoby and also Steve Withers from Coogan Smith, who faced an uncertain paycheck to do the work to help us become the 501c3 and help us through all the logistics of the city permitting project. And the other one that I didn't put on the program, because it was me actually, was the legislature. I got earmarks every year in the state budget for this to pay for the soft costs. And they couldn't come because this is budget season right now, so neither the chair, Aaron Miklovich, or the Speaker of the House, Ron Mariano, could come, but they're both strong supporters of this. And every year, I got the earmark, including the year during COVID when they asked us not to file earmarks. I filed it anyway, and they gave it to me anyway because they believed in this project. So I got strong support from my colleagues. I promised Rob, this is a hot day, I won't talk too long. The thing that I know about this site, he's talked more about the function of the building and the organizations involved, but one of the cool things about this site, and Susan Lee may have something to do with this, is we're across the street from Bristol Community College, and over there is going to be Mass Higher. We're within walking distance of Sturdy Hospital, we're within walking distance of the YMCA, we're at walking distance of Manor Health, we're at walking distance of the Literacy Center, the library, the Council on Aging, City Hall, and Mary Ellen, I don't know where you are, we're on a Gatra route.
Yes.
This is like the ideal location. I have no idea how we pulled this off. But the same magic applies. We got good weather today, despite the fact they've forecasted rain. So thank you all for coming. This is huge for me. It's kind of emotional to think that we started with nothing and look at what's happening. So thank you all. I don't normally run programs like this. So the next speaker is my partner in crime, Senator Feeney, who totally, we don't do anything alone. And we need the House and the Senate to work together on these projects. And there's nobody that's been a bigger advocate than Senator Feeney. And I would not have gotten this done without his help.
Thank you, and thank you, Representative. Can we have another round of applause for our champion, Representative Hawkins? Woo, look at all these smiley faces today. I needed this, and I think many of you probably feel the same way. It is some strange times out there in our community and throughout this country. But when I see days like today, when people come together and to show the true spirit of collaboration, cooperation, how we can come together to make a difference, not for ourselves necessarily, but for people we may not ever even get to meet, for people that are strangers to us in our community, but people who need us to step up. I want to just continue along. I appreciate Rob starting along this religious theme during Holy Week for so many. I was chairing a hearing in Boston this morning. We had 52 people sign up to testify. I said, I don't know how I'm going to make it from the State House to Attleboro for this groundbreaking. But through divine intervention, I showed up right as we took the mic. But I wouldn't have missed this for the world. As Representative Hawkins said, it takes so many people coming together and to champion this. there's so many here, so many people to thank. But I want to talk just personally for a moment about my voyage down the road of permanent supportive housing, especially in the Commonwealth. When I got elected over 5 years ago now, I got a phone call the next morning from a guy who was a mentor of mine, and he said, I want you to talk to somebody who's a friend of mine, and just whatever he needs, take care of it. And that was Joe Finn from Mahasa. Our friend Joe Timothy reached out. Joe. And I remember having a conversation with Joe, and I got to be honest with you, permanent supportive housing, housing first, sheltering, I knew that there were so many people doing great things, but I didn't know what was to come. And I went down a journey that day, starting with that conversation with Joe, that honestly has defined my career in the Senate so far. And I say that not, with extreme humility, because I'm learning from people every single day about the needs out there and what we need to do. But the important part is that we haven't just identified a problem, we've identified a solution. As Mayor DeSimone said, and I want us to use this as a personal mantra, not only today, but every day as this building is being built, we can end homelessness in Massachusetts. We can end chronic homelessness in Massachusetts with projects like these, with people coming together. One of my favorite quotes, I say it often, and I apologize if you've heard it from me before, comes from St. Francis, again, along with our dean, who told the faithful to preach, but only when necessary to use words. Think about that. Preach, but only when necessary, use words. And I say that not just in the religious sense, but because things like this are more often caught than taught. That when people across the Commonwealth see what we're doing here in Attleboro, and they say the solutions that we have found and coming together to make a difference in people's lives and the most vulnerable among us, you think about this facility that we're going to break ground on today. You think about the building. Think about the folks inside. Think about wrapping our love as a community around the people that need us the most. The work that John does every single day, and Neighbor Works, and others that are in this space is truly remarkable. And now we're so proud to have that right here in Attleboro. As a community, Attleboro is a special place. In every step of the road, every step of the way, this city finds a way to embrace each other, to embrace community. Now, we're not immune to much of the divisiveness that happens throughout this state and throughout this country. But when you look at places like this that are going to be built, that people came together with very little protest or even fanfare, they just put their nose to the grindstone to make sure we could get this done. And then you think about what we're going to cut the ribbon on, hopefully next year. We're doing it right, Attleboro. We're doing it right in Massachusetts. In taking care of the most emergent needs and triaging those that need shelter immediately to keep them safe, but then giving them hope. We heard earlier about rebirth. We heard about hope. Think about what this will mean to people that'll have the support services that they need, not while they're out in the woods of Attleboro or wandering the streets, but while they're in a place filled with love that gives them stability, that gives them hope, and that gives them opportunity. My friends, that is what this is all about. And I cannot thank State Representative Jim Hawkins enough for bringing us together, and his aide, Tara, for the work that they've been doing. To everybody here that's come to be a part of this, you are now a part of the solution. Many of you are doing this work elsewhere, but I'm so proud to be here today in Attleboro to be doing this, to show the rest of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that this is not only the economically efficient thing to do, but morally, it's the right thing to do. So let's leave here today knowing that we are part of the solution. And it's incumbent upon all of us to take what we're doing in Attleboro, to build this to scale across Massachusetts, and to do everything that we can in our power to end chronic homelessness. And only when necessary will we use words. Thank you so much, my friends.
Thank you, Senator. Let's hear it again for Rep. Hawkins and Senator Sweeney. So I'd like to next introduce the CEO of one of our partner agencies that will be operating the new 18-bed shelter that will be located on the ground floor of this new building. She's been a key driving force behind this project, and without her agency's commitment to operate this shelter early on and taking that risk, we would not have been able to move forward. She has dedicated most of her career and her life to this work, and I can tell you, she has a deep personal commitment to serving and helping those in need. Please join me in welcoming our friend, the CEO of Catholic Social Services, Susan Mazzarella.
Good afternoon. Munir Khan said, "Home was never a dream for homeless people, as they used to have their homes. Living in a home was their reality. Now we need to help them find their lost reality once again." We all know that poverty and lack of affordable housing, those are the two main causes of homelessness. And oftentimes, those who are unhoused are categorized as the homogeneous entity, the homeless. However, when we pause and we look closely, we realize that those among us who are unhoused are much more familiar. They are our neighbors, our co-workers, our family, and our friends. They're individuals who, just like us, have their dreams, their passions, their hopes, their talents, and their needs. They are from and within our communities. This project that we are celebrating the groundbreaking for today is an exquisite example of how the community of Attleboro is joining together to try to eradicate homelessness in this area by providing shelter, resources, and supportive housing to those who are the unhoused, and to help them find their lost reality of having a home once again. So I'd like to talk a little bit about our journey, and this is pre-Representative Hawkins. So it was around January of 2018, and Catholic Social Services was running a little shelter in Taunton, 18 beds, in a very old, small home with 2 teeny tiny bathrooms. One of them was for 14 men. Ooh, you can imagine that. And very steep stairs. And we were seeing that our shelter guests were having trouble ambulating those stairs, and we knew that we needed to find a different facility that had easier accessibility and more and safer space. So after a few unsuccessful searches, I had a conversation with my colleague, Janet Ricciardi, from the United Way. Janet is also the coordinator of the South Coast Regional Network to End Homelessness, and we talked about the community need. So about a week after our conversation, Janet called me and said she had a conversation about this with the former mayor of Attleboro, Paul Hero. And because our small 18-bed shelter in Taunton was the only shelter resource for individuals who were homeless between Brockton and Fall River, he supported the idea of searching for a location in Attleboro. So meetings were formed, members came and went, until Representative Jim Hawkins came on the scene. He recognized and aligned with the need, and he championed the effort, securing earmarked funding, engaging in outreach efforts, and rallying political and community support. And as an athlete of triathlons, I believe he approached this initiative in the same manner as he prepared for an athletic event, by helping us keep focus and intention on the end goal and steadily working toward it, garnering the resources, the strength, and the perseverance needed to achieve it. You rest when needed, you recover when injured, and you have an unwavering vision toward completion. So this momentum continued into the creation of the Northern Bristol County Community Action Committee with Janet Ricciardi and Steve Duplessis and Representative Hawkins and Bay Coast Bank and others. And we recognize that the key to ending homelessness is, of course, affordable low-income housing. and therefore shelter was not enough. So folks needed a place to transition to. They needed a home. Thus, the concept of a building with shelter and permanent supportive housing was born. And so NeighborWorks was selected as the project developer. And of course, NeighborWorks is known for making projects like this a reality. And Emily Rothschild, the first person that we met from NeighborWorks, she sculpted and crafted this project and worked to secure funding. She gave us confidence that this project could become a reality because this was our very first venture doing something like this. And she continued to fan the flames of hope. And then, of course, Father Bill's and Mainspring. They are the gurus of permanent supportive housing in the Quincy and Brockton areas, and they were invited to join our collaboration to manage the 22 units of permanent supportive housing. Then, of course, the pandemic came, and although it impacted everything, the vision remained. We, as shelter providers, learned valuable lessons that we have incorporated into our shelters. We also knew that one shelter in the Taunton-Attleboro area was not enough. Attleboro needed its own shelter resource and housing resource. And so now here we are at the culmination of a dream, and you are all a part of it. We recognize and appreciate some of our community partners in this venture, such as John Yaswinski of Father Bill's in Mainspring and Rob Corley of NeighborWorks. And at the political level, certainly Representative Jim Hawkins and our Mayor DeSimone and all of the other legislators. We recognize our partners through the Greater Bristol County Continuum of Care, the COC, and also Community Counseling of Bristol County, CCBC. They manage the coordinated entry system, and that is in place to help identify the area's neediest individuals for residency in the project supportive housing units. And so we look forward to building that partnership and getting those individuals off that list and into the units. And then we have the Attleboro Area Interfaith Collaborative Food and Friends. And they are going to be cooking, delivering, providing all of the meals every day for our shelter guests. And then we have Manic Community Health Center down the street, which is helping to eliminate homelessness through healthcare. And of course, the United Way, that always supports us in our endeavors to work with those who are struggling with homelessness. And most especially, deep gratitude to the community of Attleboro. You all wrapped your arms around this project with compassionate recognition of the problem and acceptance of this unified approach to combating homelessness. So to all of you, we express our deepest gratitude for your support and advocacy, and we look forward to our work together with tremendous awe and enthusiasm. I'll end with a quote from Martin Luther King. Somewhere along the way, we must learn that there is nothing greater than to do something for others. So thank you all for being a part of something great.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you very much. I know I mentioned in my opening remarks that this project was many years in the making, and you've heard certainly all about that. But it's this type of project, the combination of shelter and permanent supportive housing, that has been perfected over many years of hard work by so many leaders. In particular, people like Joe Finn and John Yaswinski have pioneered this work for decades. Please, a round of applause for both these. They're standing on their shoulders. So what you see here is a fabulous design that is a result of all of our partners' efforts. And I'd like to thank our architects at Westwork, formerly Elton Hampton, I still can't get used to that name, and our builders, Curtis Construction, who have now designed and built dozens of these projects with hundreds of units just like this for the homeless over the last 25 years. Let's hear it for Curtis Construction. So, Mahasa has been a leading voice and a statewide thought leader on housing for the chronically homeless for decades, including creating new resources for funding this critical work and projects like this one. Here to discuss their support for this project and to provide some background on MASH, or the Massachusetts Alliance for Supportive Housing, yes, another acronym, and the Senior Director of Policy and Programs from Mahasa, who also serves as the Chair of the Board of Managers of MASH, Joyce Tavon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, everyone. So I'm going to take a moment to tell you what is MASH and why are we relevant to this groundbreaking, and try not to lose you in policy. Massachusetts Alliance for Supportive Housing is a partnership. It's Mahasa, United Way of Mass Bay, and the Corporation for Supportive Housing. And our purpose is coming up with innovative ways to develop and expand permanent supportive housing as a solution to homelessness. So more than a year ago, thanks to our champions in the state legislature, they allocated $15 million to MASH to invest in supportive housing for individuals experiencing chronic homelessness. Now at the time, people may remember at the height of the pandemic, that's when we started to see tent encampments across the state really growing and shelters overflowing and overstretched. So our focus was, how can we invest in these solutions? And our focus is not only providing that funding, but ways to simplify and streamline things, bring in new providers, and support the work of developers like NeighborWorks. So yesterday, MASH announced the awards for nearly $15 million. That is going development awards, one of them we're going to touch on here, to 10 organizations to fund 362 units of supportive housing all across the state. I'm really happy to know, even though my colleagues wanted me to tell you about every one of those projects, I'm not going to do that. But there is a press release out on the table there that will give you information about that. We're also investing 8 capacity building grants to kind of expand the universe of those engaged in this work. So I'm really pleased to say one of those 10 awarded MASH funding is NeighborWorks, $2 million for this project, Pleasant Street, and an additional capacity building grant of $200,000 for NeighborWorks to continue to strengthen and expand the work they're doing. Now, just for a moment, I should note, we got 9 times the requests that there was funding available. There is tremendous need and tremendous demand to develop supportive housing. So why did MASH invest so significantly in this project? And I just want to flag a few things. One, this is an underserved and high-need area, and I'm thrilled that we're investing in Attleboro. 2, you have formed a unique partnership, as you've heard today, with so many coming together. And 3, and this is the interesting thing, because a lot of our MASH investment is going to new and smaller organizations, but we made a particular decision here to invest in NeighborWorks, which develops all kinds of affordable housing. But as you heard Rob speak to in his opening, they also have a commitment to helping end chronic homelessness and create supportive housing. And if we're going to get to scale and add the thousands of units we need in this state, 4,000 over the next 4 years of households to move out of chronic homelessness, we need all of these partners. Affordable housing developers like NeighborWorks and those small new organizations that we're bringing into the fold. So in closing, I want to give a shout out to my fellow MASH partners from United Way, CSH, and my colleagues at Mahasa. Congratulations to Rob, Emily, and the NeighborWorks team. A thank you to our state legislators who made the funding possible, our partners at DHCD and CDAC, because it takes a lot of hands to pull all of this together. And finally, to underscore, and Rob opened this way, is like, let's remember, why are we here? It's going to be because In about a year's time, there are going to be 18 people who are going to be sheltered and assisted to be rehoused, and 22 people who will finally have a home. And that's what this is about. What can we do to end homelessness with solutions like supportive housing? So thank you.
Thank you, Grace. On behalf of our board, we're honored to receive that funding and very excited about it. So just a couple of other brief announcements here. Some of our other funders I want to recognize and call out, of course, is the Department of Housing and Community Development, which awarded funds to this project last year. We would tell you all the acronyms, but we haven't been told yet what they are. But we know we're funded. I also want to thank CDAC. We have Will Morgan here from CDAC. Thank you, Will, for your support for this project. As always, CDAC is such a great partner to nonprofit organizations like us, helping us with pre-development funding and technical assistance. They're just a wonderful organization that we couldn't do what we do without them. I'd also like to call out Mass Housing and their CCRI funds. Nicole McShanus, I don't know if she's here, but where are you? There she is. Hi, Nicole. Thank you for your support. And as was mentioned earlier, it was Bay Coast Bank, but Matt Flanagan, I don't know if Matt is here, but what tremendous support we've received from Bay Coast. And the Community Health Systems Foundation. I also wanted to shout them out as a supporter of this project early on. And lastly, just want to mention this project's being completed in memory of Sue Smith, who was a homeless advocate at CCBC, who passed about 5 years ago and was a tireless advocate for the homeless, especially folks with mental health issues. And this is in memory of her and her work. So I want to thank you all. So I want to thank you all for coming on this beautiful day. It didn't rain, so now's the part, the shovels and the hard hats part. So we got to go out front here, but thank you all for coming and thank you for the support for this project. Greatly appreciate it.